Right. So probably, because you have a limited internet access, instead of asking, questions, maybe, I should be going through quickly. Is it okay? Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. No worries. So basically, three LOs into network design. We discussed in detail the protocols, the network, hardware, including the devices and everything, as well as the operating systems and distinction in the wireless and the wired networks and the network monitoring as well. Yeah. And then in the LO2, we basically discussed that how do you want to design a network according to the client brief. Yeah. So the main point was that the users, they need to talk the business language, and you are required to convert into a technical language. Like, if they need a one PC, then probably you would be considering as a network node. Yeah. So it was again a kind of one kind of transparent look. Yeah, a kind of semi the technical at the design level. Yeah. And then furthermore, the LO3 is basically to build a network to meet the client brief. It means like implementation we do in the programming, exactly that what components exactly you would be dealing with. So again, there are four indicative contents into this, that what a network architecture you would be using, and how you would be testing the network, how you would consider the performance, and how you would be implementing the security. So let us see one by one, and do let me know if you want me to break at any point. I mean stop at any point, and want to ask a question. Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So LO3. So network pre-installation checklist. Yeah. So you need to plan. You should have an idea that how many people will use the network. Yeah. And how many users are local or on site, because it could be the remote users as well, and how many users are remote off site, how many on site computers be connected to the network, how many on site devices like computers, servers, scanners. So basically they give a load to the network, isn't it? Yeah. And how do you intend remote users to access the network? Remote access is, some of the companies allow their employees to get it connected remotely from their houses, from their remote sites while they are on the client sites. But some of them may not. For example, the banks, yeah, may not allow the remote access to any employee at all, isn't it?
Yes.
Then which server you would server applications you would be using, whether you will have the email server of your own or not, and databases, the file servers. Yeah. And what specification of the servers you want to keep it, and then have you purchased any licenses for them, and the licenses for the softwares that you want to run on the servers. Are you within the budget or not, isn't it? Are these the good check questions?
Yes, they are very much so.
Yeah. Then the design itself, like we did it earlier. Yeah. But again, the design would ask you to select the topology of the network finally, and you will have to check whatsoever the network interface cards are installed into any computers. For example, are they sufficient to support the technology? For example, if it is the 100 megabits per second, then should they be the 1 gigabits per second, isn't it? Yeah. And then network operating systems. Yeah. Which network operating system you would be relying on, which cabling you would be relying on. Yeah. Whether it should be the normal category 5, should it be the fiber optic, yeah, whichever suits your network. And then where the networks would be located, maybe under the underground, maybe the under the ducts. Yeah. into the walls, maybe the roof, isn't it? It's a big, installation exercise. Yeah. And then, are there any building or leasing regulations that may affect the cable placements? Isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that can be, definitely a problem. Yeah, if you want to have a wired network, if you have leased a building, then either maybe you're required to run the wires, outside the walls, and even still installing the ducts, would little bit damage the walls, isn't it?
Yes.
So the leasing is most important, factor. So where will you locate the following devices? Servers, hubs. So location of those, the especially the equipments like the servers, switches, printers is much more important to be considered. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Furthermore, security, backup, and power plans. Yeah. So what security measures you will be taking in order to protect you from viruses, user password, something like that. So do you need a physical secure your servers? Like, do you want to keep your server locked? How will you back up your data? Yeah, on your network. So lots of backup options, maybe remote backups, backing up, on the tapes, backing into the storage devices. Yeah, and what capacity of your backup you need, and whatever is it large enough to support all data on your servers and network devices? Means the extent of the backup storage devices. Then does your backup solution have the capacity to grow as your data grows? It shouldn't be the case that, for example, if you have a backup plan of 1 year, and then probably after 1 year you require another backing up device, isn't it? How frequently will the files be backed up, and how long will you keep backed up files? Where will you store backed up tapes? For example, fireproof, safe, and it shouldn't be the case that your backup could be damaged, due to, in any case, due to disaster or, natural disasters, isn't it? Yeah. And what devices will require an uninterruptible power supply? So UPS is must, like servers should never, switch off due to any reason, isn't it?
Yes.
And is there any sufficient ventilation around your servers? So basically the computers produce lots of heat, especially the servers. Yeah. Is there any ventilation? Is there any cooling system? Yeah, that we will also be, counting in the next slides. Yeah. Then after, keeping these points in your mind, you need to really think about that whether you need to go for the wired network or the wireless network, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
So early, until 2008, home networks were predominantly wired networks. Yeah, they used to use, the Ethernet over the, these cables, UTP cables. Yeah, unshielded cables, and then they were much faster, and even today they are much more faster. However, if you look at the gigabit wireless, the adapters, yeah, but still they are expensive and as compared to the cabling, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So like wired networks can support up to 100 Mbps or 10 Gbps. They are secure and reliable. In a sense that if they are physically secure, then no one can steal from the wireless signals, isn't it? Yeah. And the disadvantages of the wired network that don't work with the devices that don't have Ethernet port, like tablets and the smartphones, isn't it? Yeah. So not so easy, and the fast setup is require running cables. Yeah. So wired has a difficult setup. Yeah. However, the home plug or power line adapters can be used instead. Not so easy for visitors and mobile devices to connect to. Yeah. So more or less, the advantages and disadvantages you will have to count for the wired and the wireless network, and you will need to select either. But obviously there isn't the option of the either, but you should have both of them, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So then further, again, the wireless is easy to set up from end user, allows easy access to smartphones, tablets, no cables required. And but wireless network has a disadvantage that it's not secure as wired networks without proper configuration and easy to set up insecurely, not so as fast as the wired networks, not as reliable as the wired networks. So obviously when you want to the wireless network, they make you easy for the connections, but the connections can be insecure. If you would implement the security, then you are increasing the complexity of accessing the network. And again, the more the secure network over the wireless you want to create, you are increasing the security options. And the security is basically the encryption and decryption, which is basically the load on the server and the devices, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Basically that's the extra work on the network and the network devices. Yeah. So now furthermore, now we are on the site now. We have the option to select the cables, the network cables. You must know the Ethernet cables. They come with the category 5, category 5E, category
Yep.
6, 6A. You must have seen as well as tried to touch them and at some point connect with the computers always, isn't it?
Yes, do it every day.
Yeah, so like they have some ranges of the that what the signals they can support, what MBs they can support, and the furthermore the electricity, whether they can be kept alongside the electricity, at what frequency they use, isn't it? Okay.
Yes.
So further detail, you can always go through, and whenever really selecting the cable and looking at the requirement, you can always select the best optimal cable. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Then you would require the internet plugs. The plugs are the sockets which are located into the walls, and those sockets require the particular cabling, particular the connectors, like the Ethernet cable, the network cable we use for the laptops uses the RJ45 connector, isn't it? Yeah. So the RJ45 connectors are normally come with a factory fitted, as well as the cabling of those connectors and the cable itself can be done upon our own choice and the size, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
So like the plugs which are located, you have to install into the walls. You would require special tools to connect those cables to the connectors. Yeah. And then for network you would require the page panels. The page panels are also a group of the plugs. Yeah. And which you need to connect the number of cables, so that obviously, because if you are using any device like a hub and switch, they will have a limited number of the uh, ports. Yeah. And but if you want to spread your cables into a computer lab, for example, at different locations, and if you want to make a one kind of the terminal, yeah, where the number of cables could run, so a page panel may be used. Yeah. Furthermore, then you would require to select the router for your network. Yeah. That router is basically a kind of switch or hub which has got the capability to make a small network, yeah, a network so that the different computers and the devices could be connected together. But the specialty of the router is that it allows you to connect your network, the office network or the home network, with the internet. Yeah. So in addition to the features of the a device which enables you to create the network, the router has the capability to get it connected with the WAN. Yeah. Furthermore, you will have to select the switch as well. Switch is basically again a device which enables you to connect the number of PCs or the devices to form a group of the network. Yeah, where you have different computers and computers and the devices connected, and it helps you to make a group of the network or a network itself. Yeah. The next question arises that the hub is a kind of old device that used to make the connections in between the computers, but wherever it required the some kind of the intelligent data packaging so that there shouldn't be the overloading on the network traffic. Yeah. Or for example, the hub used to send or broadcast the data to be sent to every computer, yeah, whichever belonged to. But switch is intelligent, it would be keep on tracking the packet switching. If you wanted to send the one computer from the data from one computer to another computer specifically, then intelligently it would make you a path and the network traffic won't be overloaded, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Furthermore, you will need to have to deploy the server, yeah, and the server, for example, the file server, you want to store the data, whatever the employees they are working on, they could use locally on their client computers. Yeah. However, they could be logged into the server using the Active Directory, whatever their allocated storage is. For example, every employee will be given like a 1 GB of data, and whatsoever the data they are working on, they would be saving their work on the server. So you need to decide about the server as well. Yeah. And then the you would require the workstations, yeah, locations. Workstation is basically, it could be any desktop or the laptop or any other device as well. You need to deploy it, yeah, that where you would be placing your workstations. Yeah, that's
Yep.
the term generally used for the terminals. Yeah. Then you should have such protection, power sockets, so that they could stop the excessive electricity or any variations into the voltage, because they are dangerous. They can burn out the the devices, the computers and the power supplies. Yeah. So it is somehow recommended for the networking as well. Furthermore, you would require the UPS, uninterruptible power supply. Yeah. Literally, there is no power outage, problems into this country. For example, in the advanced countries, you don't expect, any power outage or sudden, electricity breakdown. Yeah. And you expect 99.9%. But however, yeah, there could be any problem, yeah, occurred at the mains, yeah, power supply, and you don't want your computer server, if it is running well, if there is no problem in the server, the computer server does not stop on its own or because of the internal problem, then possibly any breakdown into the electricity could stop the server. So it is always recommended that the uninterruptible power supply must be provided. The computer, the server, the important computer should always be running. It will have a battery power. Yeah. It will have the a kind of the battery converter. It is using the 12 voltage battery, yeah, and then keeps on charging, and whenever the electricity 220 volts are gone, then without any interruption, yeah, the electricity supply to the server would be continued, and obviously for a specified number of hours wherever the backup of the battery would be, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Then you should have, the proper cooling, system like air conditioners, yeah, and the room temperature must have been maintained. If you will not have, the proper cooling within the room, yeah, then you would have, problem in your network. And because, like explained earlier, that the servers and, the networking devices, the proper switches, they produce lots of heat, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Then the next topic is that after installing the network, you should be able to test the network. And testing the network is basically you are checking the performance, and which is basically the overall quality of the network provided. So how you can do, you can do the network performance, checking using the performance measurement tools. So there are lots of, the tools, yeah. Some of them may be the free, some of may be the purchase, the professional one. Then you can know that, the whether the network is performing well. For example, if you created the network cable, then, there are certain physical tools as well, like a cable testers, yeah. For example, if you created uh, one one cable, yeah, and one cable will have a pair of connectors on the either end, yeah. So before you, connect your created cable on the router, or, the uh, computer, yeah, network cabling, testing cabling tools can also be used to check whether there is no any drop, or the, leakage, or, the missing of the data, yeah. So the network performance measurement parameters, within the network are the latency, packet loss, throughput, and bandwidth, and the jitter. So these characteristics, yeah, should be measured, yeah, calculated, and in order to check the performance of the network. So these parameters would explain to you if they are the within range, within the acceptable range of the, in numbers, then you can say that your network is reliable. But if you are not getting, the proper, response, then, obviously you would, your network is not good enough. Like a very known command, like a ping command, ping using the IP address of the computer, and after pinging, you should be able to know that how long it takes to get connected with the server. Did you ever get the chance to use the ping command?
Yeah, I've used ping and trace and things, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one, command. Lots of tools and, techniques would be used, and maybe, these the parameters, latency, packet loss, would further help you to diagnose the network. Yeah. Then the network performance could also be affected, yeah, because of the infrastructure, any issues in the network, any issues in the application, or security issues. Because of the security issues, you can have the problems in the network performance. For the network security, some proven ways to secure the computer network, like a set a clear administrator privileges, yeah, monitor the network, put in and monitor the firewall performance. It's establish intrusion detection and prevention systems, protect remote access. Like why we explained that you need to decide whether, for example, the bank networks could be given the remote access or not, isn't it? Then update the passwords at least every quarter. Maintain your antivirus software. Isolate guest wireless local area network. Yeah. Use encryption programs. Yeah. Train your employees. Yeah. Define and practice continuity plan disaster recovery. In this way, your network would be secure enough, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So these were, necessary steps, and obviously at the higher level, for example, if we want to install, the network devices from the CCNA, then the Cisco, yeah, then obviously you would require more documentation, like there are certifications, CCNA and others, yeah, and configuring the networks. That would be a kind of, uh, too much detail, at this stage, but generally, yeah, these things should have been considered while setting up of the new network, or, upgrading to the existing network. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So, do you want to ask any question?
Yeah, I do. I just want to ask. So a lot of that content is very relevant, particularly in the real world. But in terms of doing the assessment, okay.
Yeah,
So what makes it difficult is, I don't know what type of building the clients and the school and all that type of stuff. So there's a lot of variables that we discussed in that content.
yeah,
So activity 3 says, now that I've designed a network, you need to basically build it and test it, is what the activity 3 in the assignment is asking. Now, when it says build a network, okay, so it's 3.2. Is it expecting me to discuss how we would do it, or is it expecting me to physically do it? Hello? Hello? Hello, Ajaz.
yeah. I think I got some.
Hello?